I would like to start by saying that snake bite, that's an accident. Snakes are not out there to bite anyone or take revenge from anyone. It's just an accident which happens when a human comes in contact with a snake. Either you're walking somewhere, or there's a resting snake, or you're in the fields, or even inside the house. Uh, it's an accident. So let me share something about myself. What really led me to, work on snake bites. I had a perfectly, well-settled life. I had a good job, which took me to very interesting places, experiencing rich cultures, having fantastic interactions with people from very different cultures. And despite all that good things which was happening around, I still felt that there was something that was amiss. I didn't know back then what exactly, I was looking for. And then, as I progressed in life, I realized that all of us, we have a skill set, or we have a bunch of skill sets. And if we are able to use that skill set to help someone, then that's a good life to live. So I started thinking about what is it that I should build upon and, do something that would make a difference. So, of course, if you have to work on a social cause, then you have to know the Constitution of India. So I went and enrolled for a postgrad diploma in human rights from Mumbai University at a very tender age of 40 years. Luckily for me, I met Rom Whittaker, who is a snake man of India, around the same time. And I was fascinated by snakes, so I had just gone to attend a workshop and know more about snakes and snake behavior. And it is in that workshop that he was talking about 50,000 deaths that occurred in India annually. That really sort of made me think. I was taken aback. 50,000 is not a small number. And that many people dying in India annually. And 95% of the victims of snakebite, they are people from very impoverished backgrounds. So I started thinking, what exactly should I do to make a difference, and why is it that people were dying? I read more about snake bites, and I realized that snake bite is a curable disease. There is an antidote to snake bites, the snake anti-venom. And so, if there is a cure, then why were people dying? It was simply because we did not have the situation under control. In a venomous snake bite situation, if the person is given timely treatment, within 24 hours to 72 hours, there is a recovery. But, do the people, the victims, do they really end up in the hospital in the golden hour? So that was a whole challenge. People were not getting to the hospital in the time that it is required to make that recovery from a venomous snake bite. Now, the backdrop to India is that we are a deeply religious and cultural country. And there is deep-seated beliefs in snakes and snake gods and faith healing. There are all kinds of rudimentary practices that people, do in almost all parts of India. Tying of tourniquet, if you look at that picture, it's a tourniquet made out of human hair. Using a healing stone. The belief is that the stone sucks the venom out. Cutting the bitten area, that is to probably, flow out the venom. So all these things are rudimentary practices, and this is something which is not to be followed. If you do that, then obviously there's a lot of local area trauma, and it makes the recovery factor even worse. So these are some of the things, when you enter, when you do this kind of a defective first aid, that's, where you have a very bad local area trauma, and the victim's hand is completely swelled up, and it took him many months to sort of, get cured. So how do you manage snake bites? Ultimately, you have to really sort of understand what exactly is it that you do to manage a venomous snake bite situation. All of us, while we were in school, we were taught that in a snake bite situation, you just tie a tight tourniquet and take the person to a hospital. But tying a tourniquet is something that is a don't. You don't tie tourniquets. So the first thing that you do is stay calm and reassure the patient. Immobilize the bitten area. Remove all jewelry, rings, anklets, chains, bangles, or anything that is constricting that area. And the reason is that that area may start to swell. Position the bitten area below the heart level. While being transported, the victim to be laid in a lateral position, so on the side. Generally, you have seen, when victims are transported in the ambulance, they are lying flat on their back. And that is something which should be avoided, because in a venomous snakebite situation, the victim is feeling nauseous, the muscles are paralyzing, so you're not able to swallow the saliva, and there could be a situation where the victim dies because of choking on their own saliva or vomit. So the lateral position is very important. And report clearly about the bite incident to the doctor when you reach the hospital. So this is how you manage a snake bite situation. Now, when I was traveling in various parts of the country, it was deeply distressing. The lack of human dignity and the helplessness that you see in people's eyes, that was something that really wrenched on my heart, and I felt, what could we do to alleviate this kind of a human burden, snakebite burden? So in the next 3 slides, I'm going to talk about 3 stories of victims of snakebite. I have particularly picked up children's stories, but it's not that snakes bite only children. You have all kinds of people of all age groups who are bitten by venomous snakes. But in general, people who are in the most productive years of their life, they tend to be at more risk because they are there in the places where you have snakes in the fields, walking on the road, going to work, collecting dry wood, all these things where you could potentially find a resting snake. So we'll start with the story of Manan Vora. He was an 11-year-old kid, only son of his parents, only child actually, from Gujarat. And he had gone to holiday in a coastal touristy place called Diu. They were staying in a resort. Manan was bitten on his bed by a spectacled cobra, and the local hospital was just 5 minutes away from the resort. So he was actually taken to the hospital on time. But when they reached there, the building, that was absolutely fantastic, but they did not have a stock of antivenom. They had just 1 vial. And the loading dose for a venomous snake bite is 10 vials. So obviously, Manan, he was in deep trouble right at that time. The doctor there referred him to another town close by, but There was another delay of 45 minutes because the ambulance was there, but the driver was somewhere else. By the time Manan reached the other hospital in Una, he already had suffered a cardiac arrest. He was resuscitated, he was stabilized, the doctors infused antivenom, but after 2 days they realized that Manan was brain dead. What happens is, if your brain does not receive oxygen for 4 minutes, you suffer hypoxia insult, which is, in a layman's term, brain dead. So, unfortunately, in this case, Manan's parents decided to donate his organs to 3 recipients. So the next story is of Sutupa Sasmal, a 7-year-old child from West Bengal. She was bitten by a common crate inside her house at 2:30 in the night. She was taken to a super specialty hospital in Pitpur, and she arrived there at 4:30, which was 2 hours after the bite. She received the first dose of antivenom, which is 10 vials, and she was referred to another higher hospital. Now, this hospital had all the facilities to treat this patient, but in a snakebite situation, because, there is so much of tension and there are all the family members, they are asking the doctors whether, they will actually cure the patient. Sometimes, out of fear of being attacked, doctors just refer the patients to other higher hospitals. Sutapa died on the way to the other hospital because she was sent without any respiratory support. Now, this story, the third one, this is of a snakebite survivor, Kumesh Thakur from Chhattisgarh. Kumesh was 9 years old when he was bitten. On the day of the bite, Kumesh wasn't feeling too well. So that day, he didn't want to really go and play with his classmates during recess. He chose to sit below a tree and rest and just watch his classmates. Something from the base of the tree came out, bit Kumesh on his leg and vanished inside the hole. He obviously started crying and he mentioned to his teacher that something had bitten me. There was the clear sign of 2 fangs. So his teacher, in an instinct, tied a very tight tourniquet and immediately put him on his motorcycle and rushed him to the hospital. So Kumesh actually reached the hospital within 30 minutes of the bite. He received antivenom. He survived the bite. But because of wrong first aid, a tight tourniquet, especially in a viper bite, if you tie a tourniquet, that's like really a wrong way to manage that situation. It increases the local area trauma. So what happened in the next 6 months is Kumesh suffered terrible necrosis, and he had this deformity. So snakebite does not just kill. There's also the morbidity factor, which many people face, which is 5 times more than snakebite deaths. So if we're talking about 50,000 deaths, then we're looking at a much larger number of people who suffered morbidity. Their digits got amputated, or their limb, wherever they got bitten, has got deformed. So what is it that keeps us motivated? The people who work to mitigate snake bites. What is it that, makes us fight this very, very challenging battle? Every now and then when we save a snake bite victim, and when you look at that smiling face, it's the face of someone who's a mother or who's a father of very young children, who's a sole breadwinner, or somebody who's, the only child of his parents. These are the stories, when you look at it and then you feel, what you have done is amazing. So this is the story of Hansaben from Gujarat. She was bitten by a common crate when she was 6 months pregnant. So she was brought in a very critical condition to the hospital. She was treated with 10 vials of antivenom, and Hansaben survived, though she was in coma for 61 hours, but she survived the bite, and she went on to deliver a very healthy baby boy. And just last month, Hansaben came to meet the doctor who had saved her. And the joy with which the doctor has shared this picture with all of us, that really talks about, you know, the motivation that each one of us have to fight this very challenging situation on the ground. So to sum up, snakebite is not just a medical condition. It's a socio-economic problem. It leads to loss of livelihood, and especially where people are bitten who are landless laborers, or who are tribals, or who are people whose sustenance depends on the day's wage. And if you are bedridden with a snake bite for a couple of weeks, then how do you feed yourself and your family? And over that, you also have to pay for the overhead expenses of the treatment. If you go to a government hospital, the treatment is free of cost. But if you do not have a government hospital close by, then you either end up going to a private hospital or you end up going to a missionary hospital. So these institutions, they don't give you treatment free of cost. Now, a landless laborer or a tribal, for that matter, who's really sort of depending on each day's wage, how are they able to eke out a bill of 10,000? The cost can be anything between 10,000 to 30,000 rupees. So how does that person manage to get that money? And this is what leads to debt and bonded labor. So obviously they have to go and seek a loan from the local money lender. And when they're not able to repay that loan, then the victim or their family, they end up in bonded labor. And this is why snake bite situation, it actually destroys the entire family. So what is the focus area of the work that Snake Bite Healing, the initiative that I run? We focus on community engagement. This is delivered through village panchayats, through the panchayat office at the state level, through institutions like schools, colleges, different sets of people, because snake bite can happen anywhere. It's not that it's just a rural problem. Snake bites happen also in cities. So what we do is we use digital media to our advantage. We do that through our website. We have a website where we document victim stories. We document downloadable, we have a first aid template and which is translated in various regional languages, and that can be downloaded and used for community awareness, which any of you in the audience can just go and do it. We have reference papers on snake bites, and basically we talk about the big four, what is what is the behavior of the snake, where is it found? It's commonly found across India, and therefore they are responsible for the maximum number of venomous snake bites. And then we have a WhatsApp group of doctors. We have a 240 strong group of doctors from 12 states in that group. This group is 3 years old, and what we have done is we have handheld many doctors in the rural areas who are not able to manage a snake bite, do not have the experience and expertise in complex situations. And the complex situations are many, because most of the victims who actually come to the hospital are on their last breath. They have already squandered a lot of time doing faith healing. So that is where the WhatsApp group of doctors, they help the doctors on the ground sometimes share the video of the patient, what is happening, it's an anaphylactic shock, how do you manage if you have less tools like ventilatory support, or you do not have a certain drug and you still have to stabilize the person. So we have lots of hundreds of people we have saved through this group. Then Snakebite Healing, we also partner with an association of missionary hospital called Emmanuel Hospital Association, and through them we help in different things like anti-venom procurement at a distributor's price and community engagement through their hospitals. And we also train and empower people to do community awareness. That's like train the trainer. In the next 6 months, this is what is going to be the focus area. We are going to pick up a lot of people from various walks of life who really want to add to this movement of snakebite mitigation, and we are going to train them so that they can further go and do these awareness programs in their community. The idea is that it's better to be, precaution is better than cure. So, if we are able to teach people to live with snakes, how do they manage to live their life where, they don't get bitten in the first place, and that's a better way of dealing with the situation. Thank you very much.